This morning, lawmakers were getting a separate briefing behind closed doors, and joining me now is one of them, Congressman Krishnamoorthi of Illinois. Sir, good to have you with us. We also, of course, learned this morning the president seems to be sticking with this August 31st deadline. This is the second classified briefing you've received in less than 24 hours, and you were very clear with my colleague Kate Baldwin yesterday. There should not be any artificial deadlines when it comes to the evacuations of Americans and our Afghan partners. Based on that and what you've learned in the last 24 hours or so, do you agree with the president's decision now to stick with that deadline?
I respectfully submit that we have to stay until we get our, certainly our American citizens out and as many of our Afghan allies out as possible. The one thing that probably everybody knows now is that there's also a terrorist threat from ISIS Khorasan, and we have to be mindful of that. But at the end of the day, we cannot leave Americans behind who want to get out.
To that point, based on what you're learning, do you have a sense of how long that might take beyond the August 31st deadline?
I don't. And this is a piece of information that I understand is fluid, but unfortunately, we don't have a lot of precision on the issue of, the number of Americans left in Afghanistan who want to leave. We don't have a good understanding of the number of SIV people who are left who want to leave. And so I think that the good news is that we're evacuating people at a rapid clip. But the more challenging news is I'm still unclear as to how long it's going to take to get everyone out at this point.
If you're still unclear on that, do you believe the administration is clear on what they would need in terms of timing?
They may have better information, and again, it changes hour by hour given the number of flights that leave literally, every 30 minutes or so. But at this point, I hope that they understand that this is going to be a game of math, where essentially we have to increase the number of people we get out each day, and divide it by the number of people who are left to evacuate. Mm-hmm. And of course, we have to get our American troops, our brave personnel who are guarding the airport and carrying out this mission out as well, along with their equipment.
I want to get your take on this meeting that we learned about between CIA Director Bill Burns and the Taliban at the president's direction. Do you believe that was the right move?
I think so. I think it makes a lot of sense to have those very direct conversations between senior leaders. And of course, Bill Burns is a seasoned hand in this type of negotiation and this type of discussion. I hope that he was very direct and candid. I'm sure that it was a discussion that got to the nuts and bolts of what's going on right now. And the Taliban has to understand very clearly that the way that they conduct themselves in this crucial period will powerfully influence how lawmakers like myself and, of course, the Biden administration and the world will view them and treat them going forward.
We know the G7 is saying that their one stipulation is that the Taliban needs to allow for safe passage, right, out of Afghanistan after August 31st. It's interesting you're saying the Taliban needs to understand certain things. Fellow Democrat, member of the Intel Committee, Jim Himes, telling CNN this morning that CIA Director Burns has, quote, cards to play when it comes to that deadline. Does the U.S. have those cards to play, and do you think they're being used effectively at this point?
I do think that we have leverage. How it's being utilized, I'm not exactly sure, because I don't know the sum and substance of the conversation that Mr. Burns had with the Taliban yesterday. But what I do know is that the Taliban has said that they are going to allow foreign nationals to leave the country after the 31st, but they pointedly leave out Afghan partners and allies of the United States. And that is very, very distressing because, as you know, there's about 20,000 SIV applicants along with their families who need to get out, and we need to get them out.
And I know your office is working, I think, 20 or 30 people. Before we let you go, the president is set to speak a short time from now. What do you want to hear from him? What do you think the American people need to hear?
I think a couple things. I think the president needs to give us an update as to the status of operations in Kabul, and the American people need to understand what's happening there. And then secondly, what is our goal from here on out in Afghanistan with regard to getting Americans out and our Afghan partners? I think people need to receive a reassurance from the president that we're not going to leave people behind. That's really important, in my humble opinion.
Congressman Krishnamoorthi, we appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.